This is another damn podcast about digital asset management. I'm Henrik Gyor. Today I'm speaking with Dave Ginsberg. Dave, how are you?
I'm doing well, Henrik. Thanks for having me on.
No problem. Dave, how are you involved with digital asset management?
Well, I work at a studio in Los Angeles, and I oversee all the technology for a marketing group. And marketing is kind of interesting in that we're almost like a mini case study in production and post workflows. We deal with all the same issues everyone in media does, things like limited drive space resources, tight deadlines, the need to be more efficient, and most of all, the need to be more cost effective in how we do things. So DAMs allow us to take repetitive tasks and automate them with metadata so we can leverage the assets we create between the different groups that we service. We can go into our DAM and find assets we might have forgotten about, or just something that we could take one asset, another asset, merge the two together. And oftentimes we find ourselves doing slight changes rather than making something new whenever our clients need something. And obviously that can be very cost effective. And our DAM also allows our clients to service themselves directly. So if they need a file type that they didn't originally request, or they need more copies, they lost their original copy, they can go into our system and create whatever they need from the master mezzanine file, which is very, very high quality. They could make anything they need from a web resource all the way out to HD type quality. And they just do it right in the system themselves. So we found just a lot of efficiencies moving into a DAM, and we're excited to move into the world of file-based workflows.
And you recently started a blog and a podcast about digital asset management. Can you tell us more about this?
Sure. I started a website called elegantworkflow.com, and this came about. I started thinking about it a couple years ago. I was researching DAMs and file-based workflows and getting on the internet and looking all around, and there really wasn't a lot of sites out there at the time. I know that there's a few more now, but still, it's not something where you go into Google and 40 sites pop up. It still seems to be a really new technology that people are interested in. And what I wanted to do was kind of create a place where I can impart what I've learned in my journey in this arena. And I work underneath the finance and operations umbrella where I'm working at. So I see things very differently from where a programmer or an engineer might look at how to build a system. And I wanted to be able to pass along what I had learned, as well as interview some of the top industry people out there. And the site's really taking off, and it's also a lot of fun to have a nice, relaxing conversation with somebody that I would normally meet on a floor at NAB and have 2 minutes or 5 minutes with them, or be in a meeting where they're presenting something to me, to having a relaxed chat where we're talking between 20 minutes and an hour, and they can really dig into the meat and potatoes of what they want to talk about and impart what they've learned and what their business or their technology is all about.
And what advice would you like to share with DAM professionals and people aspiring to become DAM professionals?
Well, my advice for DAM pros and people aspiring to get into this industry is to learn as much as you can about everything. So if you're an engineer or a programmer, you know what? Learn about finance and production. If you're a producer, try to learn about programming and technology. And I think for everybody, we all need to learn more about library sciences, metadata, and also how users look for information. Because I think there's a lot of great systems out there, but they could be even better if people really took the time to figure out, how does the average user look for something? What's the difference between how an editor would be searching for something based on his or her needs versus someone who's a producer or an associate producer or researcher. And the more you can see things from other people's perspective, the better you can build the systems, and most of all, the better metadata structures we can all build, because it still is a relatively new technology, a relatively new arena for everybody. And there's so much we can all learn from each other. And I think the more you can just see things from another person's, see through another person's eyes, the better all these systems can be, and the better we can all do our work. And most of all, I think the goal for everybody is, getting home and having a home life, and not sitting in the office looking for a file for 3 days when you should just be able to go into a DAM and pull it up within 3 seconds.
Great advice. Make sure you get out of your speciality and make sure you get out of your comfort zone.
Exactly. And just really embrace technology. And there's a lot of amazing things people are doing out there. So through websites like your website, Elegant Workflow. There's a number of these sites starting up. You can really get a feel for what everybody else is doing, and most of all, I love when people tell me about what they would have done differently. And in every interview, I always like to ask, if you were doing this all over again, knowing what you know now, what would you do differently? And some of the answers you get are not even close to what you would expect. And sometimes it's really basic, small things that people got so excited to go build a dam and they didn't think about how it was going to be used, all the way to crazy metadata structures that people want to employ that I don't even think we have the technology yet for.
Great points. Thanks, Dave. For more on this and other digital asset management topics, log on to anotherdamblog.com. Another Dam podcast is available on Audioboo, iTunes, and the Tech Podcast Network. If you have any comments or questions, please feel free to email me at anotherdamblog@gmail.com. Thanks again.